My daughter, the center of my universe, stood before me, her eyes filled with a disdain I'd never seen before. She called me a pathetic loser. Those words, sharp as glass, shattered the world I had so carefully built for her. For 18 years, every decision, every sacrifice was for her. And now this. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the frantic beat of my own heart. I looked at her, this young woman I had raised, and saw a stranger. Where did I go wrong? How did we get here? It all started on a crisp autumn day, the kind where the air smells like new beginnings. I was holding my newborn daughter Lily, wrapped in a soft pink blanket. Looking into her tiny, innocent face, I made a promise. I swore I would give her the world, a life far better than the one I had. My own childhood was a patchwork of missed opportunities and financial struggles. My parents, though loving, were always working just to keep us afloat. I dreamed of art school, of painting canvases that would capture the world's beauty. But that dream was a luxury we couldn't afford. So I packed it away, a forgotten relic in the attic of my heart. For Lily, I vowed, it would be different. She would have every door open to her. From that day on, my life had a singular purpose: Lily. I took on extra shifts at the diner, my hands raw from washing dishes, my feet aching from standing for hours. The smell of grease and coffee became my permanent perfume. The vibrant colors of my paint palette were replaced by the dull gray of the dishwater. But every time I looked at Lily, at her bright, curious eyes, it felt worth it. I started a small savings account for her college fund, tucking away every spare dollar. It wasn't much at first, but it was a seed of hope. As Lily grew, so did her talents. She had a natural gift for music, her fingers dancing across the piano keys as if they were born to do so. Lessons were expensive, but I found a way. I sold my old car, the one I'd saved for years to buy, and started taking the bus. The extra hours on my commute were a small price to pay for the beautiful melodies that filled our small apartment. When she wanted to join the school orchestra, she needed a violin. A good one. I worked every holiday, every weekend, picking up catering gigs on the side. I remember the day I brought it home. The look of pure joy on her face as she held the polished wood instrument was my masterpiece, more beautiful than any painting I could have ever created. Her friends had the latest gadgets, the designer clothes. I couldn't give her those things, but I made sure she never felt left out of the important stuff. I chaperoned every school trip, baked cookies for every fundraiser, and cheered the loudest at every concert. My life was a whirlwind of PTA meetings, bake sales, and orchestra practice. My own dreams, my own needs, were pushed further and further into the background. My artist friends stopped calling. There was no time for gallery openings or late-night creative sessions. My world had shrunk to the size of Lily's ambitions. And honestly, I was happy. Seeing her succeed was my success. High school was a blur of college applications and SAT prep. The pressure was immense, not just for her, but for me. The college fund I had been nurturing for almost 2 decades was my primary focus. I stopped buying new clothes, my shoes were worn thin, and my meals were often just leftovers from the diner. Every penny went into that account. When she got her acceptance letter from her dream university, an expensive, prestigious music school, we both cried. They were tears of joy, of relief, of a dream realized, her dream, which had become my own. The first couple of years of college were great. She'd call home, excited about her classes, her new friends, the vibrant city life. I'd listen, my heart swelling with pride, sitting in my quiet, empty apartment. I sent her care packages filled with her favorite snacks and a little extra cash whenever I could scrape it together. I even took on a third job, cleaning offices late at night, just to make sure she wouldn't have to worry about money and could focus solely on her music. I was exhausted, running on fumes and caffeine, but her happiness was my fuel. Then, things started to change. The calls became less frequent. When she did call, her tone was different, distant. She started talking about her friends, their families, their summer homes in the Hamptons, their European vacations. I could hear the envy in her voice, a new, bitter edge that frightened me. She started asking for more money, not for books or school supplies, but for spring break trips and designer handbags. "Everyone else has them, Mom," she'd say, her voice laced with impatience. I don't want to be the only one who looks poor. The word poor stung. We weren't rich, but I had given her everything I possibly could. I tried to explain gently that my budget was stretched to its limit. That's when the argument started. She accused me of holding her back, of not understanding the pressures of her new environment. Each conversation left me feeling hollowed out, a little more of my spirit chipped away. The breaking point came when she came home for the summer. One afternoon, she was on the phone with one of her new, wealthy friends. I overheard her. No, I can't go to Italy, she said, her voice dripping with frustration. My mom just doesn't get it. She's a waitress. Yeah, just stuck in that dead-end job. It's so embarrassing. Honestly, she's kind of a pathetic loser. Pathetic. Loser. The words echoed in the small apartment, the one I worked 3 jobs to keep. They ricocheted off the walls that had witnessed my sacrifices, my tears, my unwavering love for her. I felt the floor drop out from under me. All the years of exhaustion, of giving up my own life, coalesced into a single, searing point of pain in my chest. I had been so busy making her dreams come true that I had let her forget the price. I walked into the living room, my hands shaking. She hung up the phone, a guilty look flashing across her face before being replaced by defiance. What? She snapped. And that's when I decided it was time for the cold, hard truth. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. My voice was eerily calm. A pathetic loser, I repeated, the words tasting like ash. Is that what I am, Lily? I walked over to the old wooden chest in the corner, the one she'd never paid any attention to. I knelt and lifted the heavy lid. The smell of oil paints and old canvas filled the air. I pulled out a dusty portfolio. Her eyes widened in confusion. I opened it on the coffee table. Inside were sketches, charcoal drawings, and vibrant, half-finished paintings. Landscapes, portraits, cityscapes brimming with life and color. They were good, really good. Before you were born, I said, my voice steady. This was me, this was my dream. I was accepted into one of the best art schools in the country, with a scholarship. I pulled out the faded acceptance letter, placing it on top of a painting of a Parisian street scene. But then, I found out I was pregnant with you, and I knew right then that I couldn't be a struggling artist and the kind of mother you deserved. So I made a choice. I chose you. I stood up and walked to my worn-out purse. I took out my pay stubs, all 3 of them, from the diner, from the catering company, from the office cleaning service. I laid them out next to the paintings. This is also me, I said. This is the 60-hour work week that paid for your first violin. This is the holiday shift that paid for your orchestra trip to Chicago. This is the night shift that's paying for your apartment at a university I could never have dreamed of attending. I pointed to the paintings. That dream, I said, my voice finally cracking, died so yours could live. I sold my car so you could have piano lessons. I haven't bought a new coat in 5 years so you could have a brand new laptop for college. This pathetic loser has spent the last 18 years erasing herself so that you could become someone. And I never, not for 1 second, regretted it. Until now. Tears were streaming down her face now. Not the angry, entitled tears I had grown used to, but tears of dawning, horrified realization. She looked from the paintings to the pay stubs, to my tired face and worn-out hands. For the first time, I think she truly saw me, not just as her mother, the provider, the ATM, but as a person who had a life and dreams of her own. I didn't know, she whispered, her voice choked with shame. No, I said softly. You didn't. And that's my fault. I was so focused on giving you everything, I forgot to teach you what it cost.